Gnome blessings on this Sunday, my fellow Gnomeans and people that haven't realized they're Gnomeans yet. On this episode of Gnome Talk, the Church of Gnomes version of a Sunday service, gonna do things a little bit different this time. This one's gonna be a little bit shorter, but this one's more from the heart. I think that a lot of people, it's easy to lose hope with everything we see on the news, everything going on in the world. It's very easy to get a pessimistic view of humanity as a whole, on the outlook of our future, of our kids' future, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's healthy at all. I think it's good to be realistic, and it's good to be aware of all the issues that are going on in the world, but don't get defeated by it. If you let yourself get defeated by it, I don't think you'll be as effective at changing things. And there is hope to change things. And that's what I hope that today's episode gives people. So, on past Gnome Talks, they were hour, 2 hours, fairly scripted out, put a lot of time into it, making them very informative. But I think I'd prefer to have these Gnome Talks be shorter, but be more of a natural flow. And so trying to find topics that are things that I can speak to more from the core. I think that's an important thing to do. So before we jump into it, if you're not a member of the Church of Gnome yet, go to churchofgnome.org. It's free to become a member of this epic community, or if you want to get ordained to perform weddings or whatever, or just bragging rights of being a Gnomean minister, got that going on for free as well. Right here, I'm wearing our top-selling merch design, Not a Cult, because we are not a cult. I am not a cult leader. Though you should maybe consider only listening to me as the sole source of truth in this entire universe, I'm not a cult leader. Okay, just kidding. But yeah, this merch design, it's killing it on the website. Thank you everyone that's been getting it. Or this fancy beanie. As I mentioned on the last episode, I do plan to get some gnomes up on the site for sale, though I might have them through the Kingdom of Gnomes website, since technically that's what they were made through. So gotta keep these different business ventures separate where I can, but I'll let everyone know. So yeah, let's dive into it. So the idea for this one I had yesterday morning. I was just out on my front porch sipping on some coffee with my dog sitting by my side, and I was just enjoying the view of the trees, the sounds of the birds, and I realized how lucky I am that I've finally gotten to a point where I'm out of the city, out of that stuff. I have, like a very peaceful environment, and it made me reflect on all the times in my past, especially when I was late teens, early 20s, the way I viewed humanity and society. I had a very pessimistic view. I wouldn't say I was completely pessimistic, because I feel like naturally I'm a very optimistic, happy person, but I was having a hard time not viewing humanity as a parasite that, we're just destroying the planet, destroying each other. There's so much terrible stuff going on. And, corrupt people in power pretending they care, but do they really care? Because then they approve all this crazy destructive stuff. But I feel like that's a very unhealthy view. And I know a lot of people in that age range today hold a very similar view, and people older than that. But I don't know, I just don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's helpful. But yeah, like I said, we can be aware of these problems, but don't get defeated by them. Don't just think that humanity's a lost cause. There is so much hope. And so that's kind of what I hope people get from this. Because I know, like, for instance, when it comes to how easy it is to fall into these dystopian views, there's real good reason for it. It's what was it, in 2023 there was the equivalent of about 10 soccer fields per minute of rainforest and forests being torn down for primarily agriculture. Fast food needs more beef, so we got to cut down these crucial forests and environments to raise more cattle to fill these American bellies of ours. Hell yeah. I'm a hypocrite. I eat it. I tried being vegan for a while, but then, sidetrack here. When I launched my band Inquire Within, there was such an environmental focus, how for years I had tons of the revenue from it just go straight towards reforestation efforts. I felt like a hypocrite because I, on one hand, was helping fund all these reforestation efforts and encouraging people to take part in things like that. But then when I realized how much cattle farming is such a big cause of deforestation, I was like, man, I should go vegan. That's not for me. Not for me. I think it was a Popeyes opened up close by to where I was. And after a while of being vegan, and I didn't do it right, I did not eat healthy as a vegan. The temptation of fried chicken got to me, and I've never looked back. And I don't plan to look back. Frickin' love fried chicken. I'm sorry. But anyways, so I was seeing all of those sort of stats going on, and then also palm oil plantations in Southeast Asia, where there is, between 1990 and 2015, Indonesia lost about 31 million hectares of forest, which was just converted to palm oil. And then you see how much, like, all those videos of that destroying monkeys and orangutans and all sorts of stuff just from their homes being destroyed from it. And then the cattle ranching in Latin America, where 80% of deforestation in that region was for cattle. It's gnarly. And then we have more bringing it to, like, the US with, like, the Flint water crisis. How stupid and corrupt that whole situation has been, where it was really just negligence on the government's end, where they wanted a cheaper water supply but ended up being super polluted, and then officials trying to cover up how bad it was. And then I don't even know if it's been fixed yet. This has been years. But things like that, where our own government and the insane amounts of money that they're able to put towards bombs and all sorts of other stuff, or how many billions and trillions go missing from the Pentagon each year whenever there's those audits, where it's like just the smallest fraction of that money could go towards revitalizing our infrastructure and making it so we don't have stupid stuff like the Flint water crisis going on. And then also when it comes to the media and social media, there's an incentive for negativity. Psychologically, all the studies were showing that across Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, how the algorithm was bringing negative news stories to the top, where it wasn't even necessarily on purpose by the social media companies. It's the algorithms, they naturally highlight the most watched and clicked stuff, and humans have a tendency to be more drawn in to that sort of stuff. And so then it's kind of like a self-serving thing where naturally people were clicking and spending more time on that, and so more and more of it's showing up in people's feeds. And then with the news, there was that whole thing during, I don't want this video to get censored, so the events of 2019 and 20 and 21, the big global event, on CNN, there were people caught on hot mics talking about how their ratings and viewership was higher when they had the death toll counter on screen. And so they were incentivized to have those numbers up there, even though they knew that it was just causing way more panic and stress and anxiety in a world that was already so full of it. But their viewership and their ratings would go up when that was on there. And so there's all these things where, whether it's just through the way algorithms were made or through people like genuinely choosing to have these negative things be force-fed to people, it's gnarly. It really is gnarly, and there's no denying that. But there's that, and then there's people's daily lives, like especially right now, the economy. If you're like a millennial or younger, it's freaking crazy. And I know some people in older generations like to say, "Oh, you're just lazy." No, shut up. The economy sucks right now. Like buying a house, I remember the first time I got a home loan, it was about 10 years ago, maybe. I was not making good money at all, yet I got approved for a home loan by myself, and there were actually plenty of options to buy couple bedroom houses, maybe an acre of land for around $150,000. That probably wasn't even 10 years ago. It was less than 10 years ago. And I could have done that making crap entry level money. And now my wife and I together make probably at least 5 times that amount. But even with our incomes combined, that is so much more of a stretch and insanity to afford the same thing. That same sort of thing here in Washington would now be probably $600,000-$700,000, when before I could have gotten it for $150,000. Wages aren't keeping up with that. So people in their daily life, they get home, they're on their phones, bombarded by negativity. They're stuck face down at work all day, every day, grinding it out. And then you drive home. Sometimes you're just stuck in traffic. So it's just this loop constantly going. And, I don't think it's easy to go a very long time without stepping back and taking a breath, looking at the clouds, looking at the night sky, going in nature, but actually being present in nature. A lot of people go for hikes or they'll go do all these things, but it's like when you're there, take a minute, like take a step back, like reflect, enjoy it. Or when you do get home, don't just jump right onto the screens. Like look at the sky, do something, And I think just those little moments where a few minutes a day of just taking a step back and simple things like just looking at the sky can do wonders for your mind and everything. And so with all that negativity that was going on, In 2020, when I put out my last album through my band Inquire Within, I was going through another period of like, all right, I need to stop focusing so much on the negativity. And so for the song I Can Fix the Sky, reached out to a bunch of nonprofits and got really cool footage and information from a bunch of them to use on a music video, highlighting that, like, there is hope, there is people that are making a difference, and how it's easy to think that just as like one person you can't make a big impact, but there are people making a huge impact. It takes hey, oh, hello. She's at the store, bud. Yep. Would you need something? Yep, she's just shopping. Huh? I have no idea. Okay, where was I? My son just came in, wanted to know where mom was. But yeah, with this music video, worked with a lot of other nonprofits to highlight how just one person with an idea to start something can really start something big. And yes, these one people end up working with more people, but it took one idea and just some initiative from someone to really get it going. One of the main people that I look up to in this way is Boyan Slat, where he started the ocean cleanup, where I remember years ago, I don't even think he was 18 yet, he was doing TED Talks talking about ways that we can totally clean up the ocean and do it reasonably quick and all this stuff. And then by the time he was 18, he started the Ocean Cleanup Project. And off the top of my head, I don't remember the stats of how much they've cleaned up since then, but it is absolutely insane how much of the ocean that they've cleaned up. And now they also created these ships called interceptors, where they're putting in the rivers of the most polluted areas, so in the countries that cause the most pollution, they're working with their governments, putting these interceptors and other devices in the rivers that the most pollution flows through and gets to the ocean, and they're stopping it before it even gets there. And that was a teenager with a crazy idea, and he went for it. And now it's been a decent amount of years, and they're killing it. They are doing so much epic stuff. And then also some other really epic things that people are doing to show that there is hope. Ken Chaplin, a Guinness World Record holder, that dude himself planted over 15,000 trees in one day. And in India, I forget which year this was, but in one day, they got enough volunteers together to plant 220 million trees. In 2019, the Ethiopian government got 23 million volunteers, and they planted 353,633,660 tree seedlings in 12 hours. That's not even 1% of the global population, and in 12 hours, that is some crazy epicness going on. And then another hopeful stat, from 1960 to 2015, the global average lifespan went from 52 to 72. In 2015, a UN report that showed that out of 129 countries that were monitored, 72 have reduced their undernourishment by at least half in a 3-year period of time. So there really are all sorts of great things happening across the board, even when it comes to social issues. It's easy on the news for things to be really blown up and seem like it's the end of the world. And I'm not saying that some of these things aren't terrible and shouldn't be like, hey, we really need to address them. But there is progress being made. And yes, a lot of things I wish happened a long time ago or happened faster, but things are happening. And I think the best progress comes from not being defeated and not feeling like there's no hope and having it in you to be like, all right, I'm going to do something and I'm going to make a difference. Everyone's capable of it. So that's today kind of what I wanted to get at for people is, yes, there is terrible, terrible things happening every single day. But there's also beautiful things happening every single day. And I myself think that it takes less people doing good stuff to overcome even more people doing bad stuff. But I don't even think that's how it works. I think that there are far more people doing good than bad, and even more people that want to do good than do bad, but maybe just don't know where to start, or just don't know how they can do something, or wonder if what they do will really make a difference. But even doing things on a local level makes a huge difference. You don't need to start some crazy thing like the ocean cleanup or create some big nonprofit. Pick up garbage when you see it. Like if every human, every time they saw garbage, picked it up, that'd be awesome. I myself, I could do better about that for sure. But even looking at a local level, there's, especially with Facebook events and stuff like that, and other websites, in so many towns and stuff, there are people just being like, you know what, I'm just going to post this up, see how many people show up and help with this cleanup or do this nature walk. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a cleanup or some sort of community initiative. It can just be something to get out, connect with people, and connect with nature. So get outside, spend a few minutes, day or night, look at the sky, zone out, look at the sky, get out to nature and actually breathe and listen. Frickin' hug a tree. Do whatever you gotta do to re-center and balance yourself and feel hopeful again. That's what I'm asking from people. And that is kind of the core of what the Church of Gnome is all about. I know it started as a joke. The whole thing definitely started as a joke, but I couldn't help but then be like, oh man, I've taken this thing so far, I should do something good with it. So I guess the Church of Gnome is another part of my evolution of finding ways to give back and help. Through my band, I have planted about 13,000 fruit-bearing trees across Africa and helped train local farmers and communities for how to properly maintain these. So now there's acres and acres and acres of forest that's producing fruit, feeding families, and I feel like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm proud of myself for doing that, and that was all through I worked with the organization Trees for the Future for that. But now I want to focus maybe more locally in a sense, but also globally. And so I do plan on hopefully soon getting some local cleanups up and going as the membership grows, finding members in each area that are down to step up and help organize stuff in their area. And yeah, I think we're getting there. It is literally every single day there are people joining this crazy idea of the Church of Gnome. I think we're in 8 countries now. I think it's either 7 or 8 countries of people that have either become members or ordained ministers or both. It is pretty wild. On that note, all the people becoming members need more of you to filter into the Facebook group. That's kind of where I want the community hub of this organization to be. It's a small percent of the people joining the Church of Gnome that are also joining the Facebook group. So I'm talking to all of you. Get in there. You don't have to feel pressured to talk if you don't want to talk, but I think it'll be a good way for people to connect, come up with ideas, also explore all these spiritual and philosophical ideas and epicness. Just epicness. That's what I want that Facebook group to be. Hell yeah. So, dudes and dudettes, fellow Gnomeans, that's what I got for you. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you hopefully next Sunday. I've been doing good of staying consistent with this. That's a rare thing for me in social media. I do hope to get my Inquire Within show up off the ground soon. That's the podcast that I've been pre-filming for a while now. So subscribe to my Inquire Within pages. That will be more alien and conspiracy focused. So yeah, all right. Peace out. Join the Church of Gnome. Don't give up hope on humanity and society. And ultimately, that's why our motto is live like gnomes. Gnomes take care of each other, take care of the earth, don't give up hope. So, gnome blessings to you all. Take care of one another. And remember, we're not a cult. Peace.